In the small, puritanical village of Salem, Massachusetts, in 1692, the forest was alive with laughter and whispers. Beneath the pale moonlight, a group of girls gathered in secret, their faces glowing with mischief and thrill. Among them was Abigail Williams, the orphan niece of Reverend Samuel Parris, and Betty, his young daughter. They were joined by Tituba, Parris's enslaved woman from Barbados, whose rhythmic chants and drumming filled the air with an unfamiliar, intoxicating energy. The girls twirled barefoot through the leaves, their giggles rising with the sparks from the small fire. For a few stolen moments, they were free from Salem's iron grip of rules and sin. Abigail's voice cut through the night. Her eyes gleamed with determination as she raised a chicken, its feathers glinting red in the firelight. She slit its neck, whispering a wish into the dark. "Let Elizabeth Proctor die." As the blood touched her lips, the others gasped and cheered with wild delight, their fear mixing with fascination. They believed the magic would work. They wanted it to. In their hearts, they were no longer powerless girls. The spell broke when a twig snapped. Reverend Parris burst through the shadows, his face twisting in horror. "In the name of God, what is this?" he cried. Panic ripped through the clearing. The girls screamed and ran in every direction, their laughter turning into terrified shrieks. Betty froze, her eyes wide with fear as her father's furious voice echoed through the trees. Her small body went rigid, and she fell to the ground, motionless. Parris scooped her into his arms, his heart pounding. He ran home, knowing that even the rumor of witchcraft could destroy his standing in Salem. By dawn, whispers spread like wildfire. Two girls lay unresponsive, Betty Parris and Ruth Putnam. The town was certain witchcraft had come to Salem, and Putnam clutched her husband's arm, her voice trembling. "Reverend, the devil walks among us. My Ruth, my babies, all 7 lost, and now this." Thomas Putnam's eyes glinted in the candlelight, calculating. Chaos had come to Salem, and for a man like him, chaos could be useful. Later that day, John Proctor, a strong, respected farmer, visited the Parris home, his brow furrowed with worry, though he kept his distance from the crowd. Abigail saw him and her heart raced. "John," she whispered, stepping close enough for only him to hear, "you still burn for me. I see it when you look at me." Proctor's voice hardened. "You see what you want, Abigail. What we did was a sin. It is done." Her voice softened, but her words dripped with venom. "She doesn't deserve you. Elizabeth, she's cold. You could be happy with me." Proctor turned away. "Elizabeth is my wife, and I will not betray her again." His eyes flicked to hers, full of regret. "It is over." As fear consumed Salem, a learned man named Reverend Hale arrived from Beverly. He was a scholar of witchcraft, young but sincere, carrying heavy books and a heart full of purpose. He truly believed he could help the afflicted and cleanse the village of evil. That night, all eyes turned to the Tituba. She trembled under the weight of their suspicion. "You called the devil!" Reverend Parris shouted. "You brought this evil here." Tituba cried out, "No, massa, I done no such thing." Parris's hand struck her across the face, sending her crashing to the floor. "Liar! Confess, or I'll see you whipped till your back runs red." And Putnam stepped forward, desperate. "Who was with you, Tituba? Who walks with the devil in Salem?" Tituba's tears fell fast. She saw their faces, no mercy, only hunger for blame. I saw the devil," she gasped. The room fell silent. Parris leaned closer, his breath hot with fury. "And who else?" The names came trembling from her lips. Goody Good, Goody Osborne. Women with little power, easy to condemn. The crowd exhaled in relief. They had their villains. The devil had names. Tituba collapsed, shaking. The blows had stopped. She had survived. Abigail watched in silence, a slow realization dawning. Tituba's confession had saved her. Fear had become power. She straightened, her voice sharp. "She speaks true. I saw them too, Goody Good and Goody Osborne with the devil." The girls hesitated, then joined in, crying more names, their voices overlapping in hysteria. The fire of accusation spread across Salem. In the weeks that followed, accusations multiplied. The town turned neighbor against neighbor. Each name spoken carried weight. Each confession brought new power to those who gave it. Thomas Putnam and his wife and whispered to one another in satisfaction. Every new hanging left land unclaimed, land that could be taken. Abigail had started a storm she could no longer control, yet she stood at its center, untouchable. When suspicion fell upon Elizabeth Proctor, Abigail saw her chance. While sitting beside Mary Warren in court, she watched her sew a small poppet, carefully pushing a needle into its belly for safekeeping. Abigail smiled faintly, already plotting. That evening, at home, she stabbed herself with a knife and fell screaming to the floor. When officials arrived at the Proctor home and found the poppet with a needle still inside, they took it as proof that Elizabeth had used witchcraft to harm Abigail from afar. Mary protested. "I made it. The needle was mine. Abigail saw me put it there." But her words meant nothing. Elizabeth was taken away in chains. John Proctor's jaw clenched. "I will bring you home," he told his wife. He turned to Mary Warren, who sat weeping in the corner. "You will tell the truth," he said. "You know these girls are lying. You saw Abigail do this." Mary nodded, terrified. "Yes, sir," she whispered. "I will tell them." In court the next day, the air was thick with fear. Judge Danforth watched closely as Mary Warren stood trembling. "These girls have been pretending," she said in a shaking voice. There were no spirits. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Abigail. Her eyes darkened. Slowly, she pointed upward, her expression twisting into terror. "She's sending her spirit upon us," she screamed. The other girls followed instantly, shrieking and clutching themselves as if struck by invisible hands. Mary's voice rose in panic. "They're sporting. They're pretending," she cried. The girls echoed her words in unison, their voices shrill and mocking. "They're sporting. They're pretending." Mary's breathing quickened. "Abby, stop it," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "Abby, stop it," the girls repeated again, perfectly mimicking her tone and movement. The echo of their cries filled the room. The crowd trembled, their eyes darting from the girls to Mary, unsure of what to believe. The tension grew unbearable. Judge Danforth slammed his hand against the bench. "Silence," he thundered. The screams died instantly, leaving behind a suffocating stillness that hung over everyone in the courtroom. Judge Danforth's cold eyes fixed on Mary. "Are you lying now, or were you lying before?" he demanded. "You say they pretend, yet I see with my own eyes their torment. Do you dare call these girls false?" His voice cut through the air like a blade. Mary's lips trembled. "I am telling the truth," she whispered, but her voice was fading beneath the weight of his disbelief. Judge Danforth pressed harder, questioning her again and again, his tone full of authority and suspicion. Each word chipped away at Mary's courage until she realized no one, neither the court, nor the crowd, nor even the ministers, would believe her. The girls had the court in their hands, and Danforth, determined to defend his judgment, saw only what he wanted to see. Mary's resolve broke. She clutched her head, crying, "I cannot." Then she turned to Proctor, her face pale and desperate. "You're the devil's man," she screamed. The courtroom gasped. Proctor shouted, "She lies. Abigail seeks vengeance, because I have known her." The room fell into stunned silence. He had confessed his greatest sin. Judge Danforth leaned forward. "Does your wife know of this act?" he asked. Proctor, his voice low, answered, "Aye, sir, she does." Danforth nodded grimly. "Then we shall see if she speaks the same. Bring in Elizabeth Proctor." Elizabeth was brought in, her face pale and her hands trembling. "Your husband claims he has committed lechery with Abigail Williams," Judge Danforth said. "Is this true?" Elizabeth's eyes flickered to her husband. She saw his pain, his shame. Her lips quivered. "No, sir," she said softly. "He is a good man." Proctor's voice broke. "I confessed Elizabeth, but it was too late. The truth had been buried by love, and his credibility was destroyed." As months passed, the fever of accusations began to fade. The people of Salem grew tired of blood and fear. They started to see the truth that good, honest people were filling the jails and waiting to hang. Respected citizens like Rebecca Nurse and Martha Corey were condemned, and the village began to whisper that the court had gone too far. Judge Danforth saw the shift, the loss of trust. Desperate to restore faith in the trials, he pleaded with John Proctor to confess, to admit to witchcraft, so that the court might still appear just and merciful. Abigail, once untouchable, now walked through town under cold stares and whispering voices. Her name, once feared, became poison. She felt the world turn against her and knew it was only a matter of time before they came for her. One night, she fled Salem, taking her uncle's savings and disappearing into the dark. She was never seen again. John Proctor remained in his cell, weary but unbroken. Reverend Hale, once so sure of righteousness, now begged the condemned to confess, to save themselves. Life is God's most precious gift, he pleaded. Do not throw it away. Judge Danforth offered Proctor a bargain. Confess and live, refuse and hang. Proctor stared at the quill before him. Leave me my name, he whispered. It is all I have left. How will my children look up to me if I confess to a lie? Elizabeth's eyes shone with tears. Do as you will, she said. Let none be your judge. The next morning, the gallows stood against a gray sky. Proctor walked forward, calm and steady. Sign your name and live, Judge Danforth urged one last time. Proctor's hand tightened. He dropped the quill. I cannot. The rope was placed around his neck. As the crowd watched, some weeping, some silent, he lifted his eyes to the heavens. Leave me my name, he said again. He had lost everything, his farm, his freedom, his life, but not his soul. When the platform gave way beneath him, the people of Salem felt the weight of what they had done. In the months that followed, silence settled over the village. The hysteria faded, but its scars remained. Families were torn apart, neighbors turned enemies, and the cold wind carried the memory of their sins. Yet, in the darkest corner of that memory, one truth endured. Lies, once spoken, can burn longer than fire.